Imagine the weight of the world on your shoulders. Every decision impacts the future of a nation. Now, your life is on a precarious balance. That's the situation facing King Charles III. He's a monarch loved by many, with great responsibility. But now, he's grappling with a shocking revelation. It changes everything. In Buckingham Palace, a somber conversation took place. King Charles was told he's living on borrowed time. He has cancer, a form that has silently crept into his life. For a man who has lived through wars and intense scrutiny, this battle is his most challenging. His health may prove to be his biggest challenge yet. Wearing a crown isn't all glitz and glamour. Behind closed doors, being a monarch isn't easy. You have to stand strong, even when you feel weak. King Charles III has spent decades in the public eye. But it wasn't until his diagnosis that the full weight of his role became clear. Cancer doesn't discriminate, it strips away status, exposing the raw human beneath. In those moments, Charles was more than just a king. He was a man, a father, and a grandfather. He realized time was slipping through his fingers. Health is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter who you are. Your health is what matters most. This isn't just a story about a diagnosis. It's about resilience and fighting back. Have you ever faced a moment where life threw something unexpected at you? For King Charles, this diagnosis is that moment. Imagine being told you have a terminal illness and still having to wave at crowds. As a king, Charles can't take a personal day. His life is the definition of public, and now, his private struggles are on full display. This echoes the experience of anyone who's had to put on a brave face while battling a personal challenge. Maybe you've experienced something similar. Life doesn't stop for anyone. King Charles faces a difficult choice: continue his royal duties or prioritize his health. It's a decision many people can relate to. Balancing work, family, and personal well-being is a challenge we all face. Whatever path he chooses, it will be scrutinized by millions. But there's something incredibly human about that struggle. We've all been there, right? The feeling that we have to soldier on despite what's happening in our personal lives. Charles, despite his title, is living the same conflict many of us face every day. And in that way, he's a king we can truly relate to. The British monarchy has always had a certain mystique. For centuries, kings and queens were seen as almost superhuman. But as times have changed, so has our view of royalty. We no longer expect them to be perfect. We want to see their human side, too. In many ways, King Charles has been preparing for this moment his entire life. His role in the monarchy has been one of enduring patience. He waited longer than any other heir apparent in British history to ascend the throne, facing his own share of personal challenges along the way. Seeing a monarch face vulnerability is oddly comforting. It shows us that no one is above life's twists. Charles's illness is a personal crisis, not just a royal one. In this vulnerability, we find strength. Have you noticed how weakness can bring out our strongest selves? King Charles is facing a life-threatening illness with quiet dignity. This shows his true strength. The phrase, living on borrowed time, is heavy. It means every day could be our last. For Charles, this reality is more real than ever. But aren't we all living on borrowed time? We often think we have all the time in the world. Charles's diagnosis reminds us of this truth. Understanding time is limited can be freeing. It makes us appreciate what truly matters. For Charles, this might mean spending more time with family or rethinking his role. This is a reminder to live with purpose. Whether it's pursuing a passion or spending time with loved ones, knowing our time is limited motivates us. It encourages us to make the most of it. As Charles faces his illness, everyone wonders what's next. Will he step down? Will Prince William take on more responsibilities? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear. Charles's legacy will be shaped by how he handles this challenge. This moment could define Charles's reign. History will remember not just the monarch who took the throne later in life. It will remember the man who faced adversity with grace and courage. This is the greatest lesson of all. True strength is not about avoiding challenges, but how we respond to them. So, what can we learn from King Charles's story? Life is unpredictable, and we all face challenges. But in those moments, we have a choice. We can let challenges defeat us, or we can rise above them. What can we take away? King Charles's journey teaches us that no one is immune to life's hardships. His battle with cancer reminds us that health, time, and family are what truly matter in life. So, ask yourself, are you making the most of your time? Are you focusing on what really matters? Charles's story is one of reflection, resilience, and realizing we're all human. We all face struggles, but it's how we rise to meet them that defines us. As we conclude this chapter of King Charles's story, think about your own life. How are you using your time? Are you focusing on the things that truly matter, or are you caught up in the business of life, forgetting that time is our most precious commodity? Take a moment to reflect. And if you feel inspired, share your thoughts in the comments below. How has King Charles's story impacted you? What changes will you make in your own life to ensure you're living with purpose? Because, after all, whether we wear a crown or not, we're all living on borrowed time. Let's make every second count. As we move beyond the initial shock of King Charles's diagnosis, let's dive deeper into the ripple effects of such life-changing news, not just for him, but for those around him and, by extension, the world. His illness doesn't just belong to him anymore. In a monarchy, everything is shared, scrutinized, and debated. But in that shared experience, there are lessons for all of us to learn. Being a king means your life affects millions. Every choice and challenge you face impacts others. This is true for all of us, affecting our families, friends, and colleagues. King Charles's illness shows how one person's life can stir reactions. For the royal family, it's a public tragedy. The press covers every detail, but there's a real family with real fears. When someone you love gets sick, everything changes. Priorities shift, and moments gain new meaning. The royal family is experiencing this too, behind the grand events. Life's challenges make our support systems crucial. The people we lean on and the moments we share help us through tough times. These connections matter, whether you're royal or not. As Charles faces his illness, legacy comes to mind. He's spent his life preparing for this role, but now, his legacy is evolving. What will people remember about him? Legacy is something we build every day. It's not just about achievements. It's about how we treat people and the impact we have. King Charles's legacy will include his environmental work and his family role. Have you thought about your legacy? It's easy to get caught up in daily life and forget about the impact we leave. Will people remember you for your kindness or your anger? King Charles's journey shows legacy is built daily. What legacy are you building now? One surprising thing about King Charles's story is its vulnerability. We don't often link royalty with vulnerability, but it's what this moment represents. Vulnerability is powerful, not weak. It opens up for connection and change. King Charles is showing that vulnerability can be strong. When someone shares their struggles, it inspires others to do the same. This creates a domino effect. King Charles's story is inspiring vulnerability worldwide. None of us are invincible. We all face challenges that feel overwhelming. But when we're vulnerable, we find strength in our shared humanity. So, let's ask ourselves, where in our own lives could we benefit from being more vulnerable? Maybe it's opening up to a loved one about a fear we've been carrying, or being honest about a struggle we've been facing in silence. The act of opening up is the first step toward finding the support and strength we need. As King Charles faces this monumental challenge, it's clear that it takes immense courage to confront an illness, even in the public eye. Courage isn't just about putting on a brave face for the cameras. It's about facing reality, accepting uncertainty, and finding a way to move forward. For Charles, this might mean navigating the difficult decisions of continuing his royal duties while balancing his health. It might mean stepping aside to allow his son, Prince William, to take on more responsibilities. But whatever choices he makes, he's showing us that courage doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes, it's quiet. Sometimes, it's vulnerable. Sometimes, it's simply about getting up and facing another day, even when you're not sure what the future holds. And isn't that true for all of us? Courage isn't always about grand gestures or heroic acts. More often than not, it's about the little moments, the ones where we choose to keep going, even when the path ahead is uncertain. Whether we're dealing with illness, loss, or any other challenge life throws our way, the choice to keep moving forward is a courageous one. What can we learn from King Charles's battle? That courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to face that fear and move forward anyway. That we all have the strength to confront life's challenges, even when they seem insurmountable. And that, in the end, it's our courage that defines us, not just in the big moments, but in the small, everyday choices we make. King Charles's journey is one that resonates deeply, not just because of his status as a monarch, but because it touches on something universal: the human experience of facing adversity. His story reminds us that no matter who we are or what position we hold, life will challenge us in ways we never expect. And when those challenges come, we have a choice. We can either let them defeat us, or we can rise to meet them with courage, vulnerability, and the support of those around us. So, now it's your turn. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What challenges are you facing right now? What fears have been holding you back? And most importantly, how will you choose to face those challenges? Will you keep them hidden, pretending everything's fine? Or will you embrace vulnerability, ask for help when you need it, and find the courage to keep moving forward? The truth is, we're all living on borrowed time. But rather than seeing that as something to fear, we can choose to see it as an opportunity, a chance to live more fully, more intentionally, and more courageously. Whether it's a conversation you've been avoiding, a dream you've been putting off, or a challenge you've been reluctant to face, now is the time to act. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How has King Charles's story inspired you? What steps will you take to live with more courage and intention? And how can we, as a community, support each other in the challenges we all face? After all, we may not all wear crowns, but we all have the power to shape our own lives and leave a lasting legacy.